This episode contains topics that may be sensitive to some listeners. Check out the show notes for more information. Thank you for tuning in.
Today on News Dive, the teacup poisonings, an isolated event or a rising trend. The 7 people found dead in a hotel room yesterday evening are presumed to have been poisoned, says the New Vilirth Police Department. After doctors examined the bodies, they came to the conclusion that the cause of death was likely chrysanite poisoning. Earlier today, forensic investigators found traces of chrysanite on the rims of the teacups used by the victims. Police have begun to piece together what might have happened. It's been uncovered that at least 3 of the 7 victims had large sums of debt within the criminal circuit. The NVPD believes that the 7th victim was the one to poison both himself and the others. 6 of the victims were scheduled to sail to the Southern Islands the next morning, suggesting they were trying to get away from something, a spokesperson from the police department tells us. They were found unresponsive in the morning after they had missed their checkout time. Chrysanite comes from the eponymous flower, also known as widow's veil. It is a poison that is almost impossible to detect. It is said to have the faintest hint of dirt when added to something, but not everyone is able to smell this. It's a fast-acting neurotoxin that leads to respiratory failure, cardiac arrest, and multi-organ failure. Death usually occurs in minutes. It's a popular poison due to its intractability and effectiveness. Join us after the break with criminologist Delia Dagmar. We'll talk about how this event mirrors several attacks and murders from the past and the rising trend in
There's a rot in the heart of this city.
The New Vilirth Metropolitan warns about the dangers of a new drug overtaking the streets.
The government launched a campaign against the use of neomorphic memories.
This city's nothing but copper and visions of the past.
It's a black day. For all of us.
Who doesn't dream of the times gone by?
Unsavory figures can no longer hide in the shadows.
Such is my promise.
Wake Up, New Vilirth. Chapter 8. A Flight by Night. A rush of wind dragged at my clothing. I moved closer to the tunnel's wall. Grime from the apartment still clung to me even after a long bath. Seppo hadn't shown up to help, nor had he answered any of my calls. Elias had just sat there watching me throw away his trash and scrub my apartment back to something livable. Where my father had been, I didn't know, nor did I want to. I passed several alcoves in the tunnel, filled with ragged figures, sleeping or otherwise. The lights that flickered along the wall hollowed out their pale faces. Needles and tubes littered the tracks. I kept a steady pace. Occasionally, a car or hover passed me, but the traffic slowed down as time went by. I followed the tracks further from the center and away from that damned apartment. The stations I passed became increasingly smaller. Less shops and houses lined the walls. The houses that were there were renovated using metal sheets and mismatched wood. Torn posters warned against the effects of neomorphic memories, detailing different hypothetical situations that memories could affect. The slogan cut off after "using memories affects more," and now lay crumpled in the gutters. A shop advertised radios and flickering neon letters, but there were no radios in sight. I pulled my hood further over my head and dragged my shawl over my nose, so only a slit remained for my yellow eyes. I walked further into the tunnels towards the last station. Its original name was West Green Park, but I only knew it as Tracksend. It wasn't a place I enjoyed visiting. The people that hung out here weren't really perceived as people anymore. Those too far into their addictions or debts, or both, to be helped. A place for those whose mental state was beyond healing. Technically, this was true. The Roy Vanguard and the other organizations that profited from this place weren't dumb enough to let the police force believe otherwise. Occasionally, there would be a raid, and that's what they would find. Lost addicts. But all addicts craved something, and they flocked to it like bees to honey. I climbed the steps from the tracks onto the platform. The stores here did a better job of pretending they were still in business for what they were advertising. More radios, phones, clothing repairs, the lot. I'd never seen these storefronts change. They still housed the same broken neon lights and the stacks of household supplies that had gone out of fashion several years ago. But what was sold behind it changed every week. I kept my face down, but it wouldn't really matter. Few people were around, and all of them wanted to be recognized even less than I did. 2 stairs up the wall, I stepped onto a narrow street with all boarded-up shops except for one. Despite the late night, open flickered in neon letters behind the dirty window. I opened a door into the lone shop advertising coffee, a luxury that hadn't been around for years. Likely the boxes were empty. In the distance, behind the counter, a bell rang. I closed the door behind me. There was no one in sight and no clear path led to the counter. Boxes and shelves stood in my way. I had to wind through the entire store. I wouldn't be able to make a run for it, which I guessed was the point. I hung back from the counter, watching the opening that led into the back of the store. My knives pressed against my skin. A rustling came from the back. They certainly weren't making any haste. I waited, still as a statue. An old man came shuffling out of the back. He was human, although his fingers, with which he held a stack of papers, were metal. His finger joints were rusted and they creaked as he opened the drawer and slid the papers into it. Although it might have been the drawer itself, as it hung lopsided in its hinges.
Good evening. Looking to buy some coffee?
The man didn't look at me. I'm looking for a special kind.
Aha.
He stepped from behind the counter and limped over to the shelves. He picked up a small box and held it out to me.
I'd recommend this. It's from the islands of Lehema. It's quite the investment, but it makes for a great present.
I took the box. It truly was coffee. I glanced around at the store and the fortune surrounding me. This time the man did look at me. I handed the box back. I'm looking for something else.
A special taste. Let me...
No. None of what you have here. The man assessed me, and then his wrinkled face broke into a grin.
Oh, you should have said so. No one is listening in. No need to be all mysterious.
I stayed quiet.
I don't have those things lying around for obvious reasons. You'll have to place an order.
But he did have all this coffee standing here? I doubted no one was watching. Certainly a few boxes in the way weren't stopping thieves from taking everything. The man walked back to the counter and reopened the lopsided drawer. It squeaked in protest. He put a form on the counter in front of me. I'd prefer not to leave a paper trail.
You can also tell me what you want, and I'll write it down myself. No name required. All I need is the product and your deposit, which is 50%. I like to keep my administration organized, especially in my old age. I'm starting to forget things.
He patted the paper. His eyes sparkled. A piece of paper wasn't going to make me keep my word, but I leaned over to fill out the form. I assume this is enough? I slammed a stack of money on the counter. The smile faded from the man's face. He stared at my words, the ink still gleaming in the light. I will need it by tomorrow. The man picked up the stack of money and counted it.
Right, correct. I will make sure of that, madam.
He bowed low.
Can I get it delivered for you?
No. I'll be here tomorrow to pick it up.
Certainly. Here's your receipt.
He stamped a slip of paper.
Nice doing business with you, madam.
I didn't reply and turned around to meander out of the store. Once I was outside and back down the stairs, I saw the open light flick off. The moment I stepped back on the tracks, I could tell something was different. The alcoves had been abandoned. A blanket was lying in the middle of the path, discarded mid-flight. I kept walking, but moved one hand to the heft of my knife, and I took a small handgun out of my pocket with the other. I hid the handgun under the trailing fabric of my shawl. I came to a halt.
It's best if you keep walking until we are a bit deeper into the tunnel. I'd like some privacy.
I continued, slowly and deliberately. In front of us, the tunnel bent into the dark. Something pressed against my spine. I recognized the cold, hard muzzle of a gun. Sometimes owing a lot of money was comforting. Most people didn't really want to kill you. They only wanted to scare you. That was until you paid off your debt.
Stop right there. And put your hands up.
I halted and lifted my hands. I slipped the gun into my sleeve as I did. A figure stepped around me to face me. My cousin pulled off his hood. Surprise lit his face and he tilted his head. A violent scar cut across his left eye, preventing it from opening all the way. It gave him a far more disturbing reputation than he deserved. I had to admit he put it to good use. He had the same dark hair and bright yellow eyes, but when he smiled, he bared a set of canines. Iris-sanne was half Dokalfar and half something different, something feral. I assumed he was part night walker or something similar, although Isno liked to keep everyone guessing at his parentage. That, too, was part of his mysterious spiel. He had learned from his dear mother.
On a midnight stroll, are we?
The officer behind me dug the gun deeper between my shoulder blades.
Clearly, New Vilirth is lovely at night.
In the spirit of Willow, I took a dramatic sniff of the air and was immediately punished by inhaling a fresh waft of rotting trash and urine.
Lovely.
Anything you need to report?
He turned a bit so that the badge on his chest shone in the harsh lamplight. Only now did I really look at what he was wearing. He was dressed in police attire. It wasn't a standard uniform or toned down and without the official colors, but in the buttons of his jacket shone the symbol of the New Vilirth Police Department.
Where did you get that?
It's mine.
He fingered his badge.
No one in their right mind would give you that.
But evidently someone had. The Oneroy Vanguard often made pacts with police officers, especially those in training. It helped with gathering information. Raids happened, they had to happen. The Vanguard made sure the police always found enough to keep them satisfied. Plus, it was a great way to punish those that hadn't been cooperative. And to get rid of those who caused problems. Getting her son involved, however, alluded to Ulva having planned something bigger than a few well-planned raids and arrests.
Check her.
I glared at him but did not resist when one of the officers started pulling out the knives I'd hidden in my waistband and boots. Unfortunately, he discovered the small pistol as well. He gathered all my weapons in a sack. Too bad about those knives, they hadn't been cheap.
That's it, sir. First off, we can take her in for illegal possession of a gun. Secondly, these knives are longer than the allowed set length, so we can also make a case with that too. You could put her behind bars, sir. We can strip her there and find out what else she's hiding.
The officer looked expectantly at Isno, who was staring at me intensely. A frown furrowed his dark brows.
That won't be necessary.
I'd like to see you try.
Repulsive. Cousin.
I rolled my eyes, feigning arrogance, but my heart was thumping. Had he somehow known I would be here? And if he had, how? I hadn't mentioned this to anyone. Isno took a notebook out of his pocket and started scribbling.
Name?
You know my
name.
Iris-sanne.
Good. You will be charged with illegal possession of a firearm. First warning, sum of 150,000 shards.
I ground my teeth.
I'm going to need to see your papers.
He looked up at me and waited. Ugh. I fished it out of my pocket and showed him my registration card. He nodded contently and continued writing. Isno ripped off the piece of yellow transfer paper and handed it to me.
We won't be so lenient next time. Make sure to stay on the right side of the law, miss.
He made a show to glance at my surname.
Iris-sanne.
I didn't give him the satisfaction of playing along. The gun left my back. I watched until all 3 officers left before taking off. I slammed the door into Willow's apartment open and ran into the kitchen. I pulled open every door, scouring through them. The light flicked on.
Rhea? What the hell?
She held a gun in her hand. but lowered it the moment she saw it was me. Where do you keep your matches? I opened another drawer. Fuck. Was every drawer in Willow's kitchen a junk drawer?
What are you doing?
Willow.
Second drawer to the right.
I pulled it open, almost ripping it out of the cupboard. There. I pulled the receipt out of my shirt and held the match to it. It caught fire immediately. I threw the smoldering pieces in the sink.
What was that?
I turned around to find Tuula standing behind Willow. Her eyes were red. Lack of sleep? Willow's frustration melted from her face. What happened?
Her uncle was rescued today.
Of course. Konstantin must have reinstated the rescue mission. I should have paid attention. That's good.
Neela's didn't make it.
For a moment, the name didn't click. Oh, her cousin. Tuula. I'm sorry. My condolences. Tuula ignored my words.
What was that?
She pointed at the sink. I looked down at the burned pieces of paper and turned on the tap. I noticed my hands were trembling. I set them on the counter and watched the ashes of the paper wash down the sink and disappear into the sewer. A paper trail.
What for?
I'm sorry I didn't check in about your uncle.
Have you killed it? The crane?
No, not yet. Tuula wrapped her arms around herself. They too were trembling. I'm working on it. There was a moment of silence as we stood there. I wasn't sure what to do with this guilt that rumbled in my stomach. If I started moving, doing something, perhaps I could outrun it.
We want in.
I glanced at Willow, who still stood next to Tuula. Now that I really looked, she too seemed out of sorts. Her skin was pale, she had dark circles below her eyes. Her hair looked different too. It hung loose, and it was messy. I couldn't remember Willow's hair ever being messy. She'd brush her hair before even getting out of bed. It always shone, bright and blonde. And now it was as dull as the look on her face. Willow took the kettle from the stove.
We need to talk.
She held it under the streaming water and plucked the matchbox from my hand. I watched as Willow took 3 mugs from the cupboard. She leaned against the counter, not looking at either of us. She was wearing a cotton nightgown that hung just above her knees. Her legs were bruised. And now that I was looking, truly seeing, I noticed that her arms were too. What happened?
Jar first.
Tuula sank down onto the couch and pulled her legs up. We waited in silence for the kettle to start howling. Willow gathered her hair together in a ponytail, beginning to look a lot more like the Willow I knew. She took the pot from the stove and filled 3 cups with water. She scooped dried flowers into a bag. Willow left me to pick up my own cup and walk to the couch. I picked it up by the rim, its ear had long ago broken off, and followed Willow. She handed 1 mug to Tuula and sat down next to her. They were a united front against me. Great.
I found something.
Found what?
Something to kill the beast with.
I frowned. That's impossible. And I told you I'm doing this alone.
Like hell you are.
Her sadness twisted into anger in an instant.
You might think you need to do this alone, all heroically, but you don't have to go down there every day. If this fails, it would be my family that pays for it, not yours and not Willow's, mine. You can't just turn your back on us because you have no use of us anymore. We've done this together for 5 moons. We're a team. Friends even, maybe, I don't know.
I opened my mouth to speak. Tuula, I don't...
And don't tell me we aren't. If that were true, you wouldn't have cared about the rescue mission. You would have let them suffocate.
I'm not a monster. That has nothing to do with friendship.
You're stuck with us, Rhea, whether you want it or not. And now you're going to need us because we have information that you don't.
I don't think friends manipulate each other into hanging out. Neither of them laughed.
Yeah, well, sometimes friends need a kick against their butts.
I'm really sorry about your cousin, Tuula. I wondered if I could have done something to prevent it.
I am too.
I wanted to know what they found out, but pushing the subject felt inappropriate. I sipped from my herbata. The drink burned my tongue and I hissed. I didn't understand what Willow liked so much about it. Tasted like grassy water. I set the mug down. Finally, Willow spoke.
It's hurt. The blast in the mines broke part of the cranial skin.
I sat up. How do you know? Willow picked a bag of herbata leaves from her mug. She watched the water drip back into the mug before dropping it on a saucer. Willow?
I may have stolen a memory.
What?
And then used it.
Willow seemed to shrink. It made sense now. The bruises, the dark circles. Willow, are you insane? Even made properly, those are highly addictive.
Don't you think I know that? I'm the medical expert, remember? But you wouldn't believe that we could be of any help.
That's childish.
Shut up!
Tuula sprang up.
If you can't take us seriously, you can leave. But we are killing this monster with you, whether you like it or not. We have vital information, and Willow can make her own choices.
Tuula shot Willow a look.
Even if they are questionable.
So Tuula didn't agree either. They must have had this fight already.
Its belly is damaged. So if we can shoot it or blow the beast up from below...
That won't work. The cave might collapse and... I think I've got something. For a moment I doubted if I was really going to share this with them. I watched their determined faces.
What?
I wriggled some extra shards out of Van Leerkaf to buy myself a safety net. In case shit hits the fan. I bought neek poison. I thought maybe I could put it in darts.
Oh, and you think I'm crazy?
No. We can make something even better. I can make a trap. We need something to hit it from below, right? Leave it to me.
I could see the device taking shape behind Tuula's eyes.
Right. Let's do this then.
Wake Up New Vilirth is created, produced and written by Lisa van Hees. Directed and co-produced by Iris-sanne van der Aar. Our brilliant team of voices consists of Sigrid van Setten as Rhea, Carré Albers as Willow, Swaeske Dooper-de Vries as Tuula, Klay van Peer as Isno, Fey Lehiane, Lin Schalken, Joris van de Waterbeent, Tom van Hull and Daan Helmendach as our radio hosts, and Reno van Oostrum, Ezra Menard, and Isa Marley as our supporting voices. Sound recording by Lisa van Hees and Jonas van Impe. Sound design by Lode Woltersom. Music by Freya Terpstra and Teun Zeidner. Radio design by Joris van de Waterbeent. Directing assistance by Tom van Hull. Production assistance by Demi Oude-Elverink, Femke Bruil, Robert Kersies and Isa Marley. And cover art by Matt Roodhuizen. For a full list of our wonderful team, go to wakeupnewvilirth.com. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed your stay.